What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the NASCAR live show. I am your host, JSU. We are talking the Pocono 350. But guys, before that, just make sure if you haven't got over to Run Pure Sports, make sure you get over there, check it out, runpuresports.com. You know, we've been live for a little while now. PGA's, so good right now. Showdown content, everything is just awesome. NASCAR content. We've had NASCAR content playbooks up for all these races. Make sure you guys get over there, check it out. Still 120 all the way up to August 31st. That'll get you every single sport as NBA, MLB, all those sports start coming out. That'll get you that as well. So make sure you get over there and check that out. But with me to talk some NASCAR today, one we got Coop. Coop, what's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm, ready to recoup from yesterday. It was a bloodbath. Erik Jones took me out, and Ryan Blaney never performed. And what makes it really bad is my boy Cole Custer, man. He performed yesterday, had a nice 15th place finish, and it was all for naught because of Jones and Blaney's horrible performance.
Yeah, for sure. And then two, we got Matty Ice. Matthew Beck or Matty Ice? Which one should I call you? I don't know. Big T was confusing me earlier.
Most of the guys in court just call me Matty Ice, so you can stick with that.
All right. So Matty Ice, what's going on, man? How's your race weekend been going?
Well, the Cup race yesterday was rough. I was with Coop, so I had a ton of Jones. Actually did pretty well on the trucks this morning. I had about half of my lineups wreck out in the first 15 laps, but I had some strong finishes at the end, so it worked out pretty well for me.
All right. That's good. At least it worked out well. So, guys, let's talk first. I want to make sure that we're going to talk both FanDuel and Draftkings. But first, we got a lot of things going on. We got guys moving from the front, moving to the back. Let's just kind of talk strategy real quick. What is going on? Give us the guys that are moving to the back. Coop, why don't you just kind of give us the rundown on that?
All right, we got Ryan Preece, who was starting or still, he's going to be scored from the first position. He's dropping to the back. Then we have William Byron. He's dropping to the back. Chase Elliott dropping to the back. Logano, Reddick. I think Quinn Huff. And there's one more that's missing off the top of my mind. You know which one I'm missing, Matty?
Let me see here.
I tweeted it out earlier this morning.
Preece, Byron, Elliott, Bowman, Reddick, Logano, Jones, McLeod, Huff.
Yeah, Bowman was the one I missed. So, obviously the big one out of that group is Preece. He's no longer playable. He's still going to be scored from first. And then Byron also was affected by that. Although I think, Byron could still be a good low-owned GPP play because he's had good history here and he does have the ability to, get back up front. But he would need like a second place finish to pay off. So still very risky. The other guys that are going to the back, no problem. They're going to be able to get back to their original starting positions fairly quickly.
All right, yeah. So, anything else to add on this track as it provides to kind of just the layout of it? Is there anything else, something from your article that maybe you want to give out?
The other big thing that we need to pay attention to is, they have to go back through inspection process again. So we want to pay attention to that this afternoon to see if anybody fails that inspection. And then you got to be on top of it because, we haven't been getting that news about 10, 15 minutes before lock. So it can be quite impactful if you have one of these drivers go to the back that you have. And then as far as the track goes, We saw a lot of wrecks this morning with trucks, and then there were a lot of blown tires. Matty was saying, and then yesterday we saw a lot of blown tires also near the end of the race. So we need to keep an eye on that. Nothing we can do about it. If it happens, it happens. But I think as long as there's no rain throughout the day to wash the track off, I think the grip is going to get better as more and more rubber gets laid down, which is going to increase the surface that the cars can drive on, and it's going to be a much more interesting race than what we saw yesterday as far as passing goes.
Yeah, for sure. Matty, anything else to add on the track before we get into it?
No, I think Coop's kind of nailed it on the head. The biggest thing for me is I think after the truck race and Xfinity race this morning, we're just going to gain so much grip for the Cup race. I think you're going to see a little bit more passing than we saw yesterday. So,
all right, cool. So I want to talk real quick about the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel when it comes to their scoring, because I was getting some questions in the Discord about it, and I want you guys to just maybe touch on this real quick, and then we'll get into the breakdown of all the drivers. But Coop, can you just give us kind of the difference? Now, I know there's a difference between on FanDuel, I'm pretty sure, where you place, it means a lot more at the end. Just kind of talk us through that real quick, because I was getting some questions on it.
Well, the biggest thing, like you said, is finishing position is much more key because the place differential points is a half a point versus a full point on DK. So while, like yesterday when you have, drivers like Bell, and in the day when you have Logano and, Jones starting in the back, there's still going to be great plays on FanDuel. Possibly not as well as what they would be on DK. So you can probably, maybe not have to go as far in on them on FanDuel. But, those are the biggest things. And then the other thing that, really is on FanDuel is, you get points for laps completed. And, if you get taken out or you have a couple of issues and you lose some laps, it's not really a big deal for the back drivers. But, for drivers that, are popular and, that we most likely play, that point can be a big difference if they lose a lap here or there.
Yeah. I think that was great. Matty, anything else pretty much that you wanted to hit on for FanDuel? Any type of strategy that's different from DK? Did you stay away from a lot of, or do you not build your lineups with a ton of those back end drivers just because of the place differential points?
Yeah, I mean, obviously FanDuel is just a different beast to me than DraftKings, but I think Coop's kind of right on the money there. Obviously laps completed and your finishing position is just so important. So I don't have much to add there, but I think Coop kind of nailed it with what you're kind of looking at on FanDuel.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into these top 5 drivers. We've got
JSU. Before we get to that, Matty, you want to talk a little strategy first to see how you think the race is going to play out, because I don't think it's going to be the same as what it was yesterday. We had a competition caution yesterday. We don't have that today. So I think we're going to see more drivers. Go that full stage, unless there's, a couple cautions here or there. It all just depends upon when those cautions fall. But I think, unless we get those cautions, we're going to see a more normal race than what we, expected from yesterday. Obviously, yesterday, that competition caution and then the other cautions, threw monkey wrenches into strategy and allowed the drivers to play more strategy. And, it could happen again today. But I think the chances are less likely that it happens today because you don't have that competition caution.
Yeah, Matty, anything else?
Yeah, Coop, I think you're right on the money there. With no competition caution today, I don't think we're going to see as much varied strategy as we saw yesterday. The field was kind of split into threes yesterday. You had 3 different groups of guys all on different strategies. And that played out, like Coop said, because of the cautions. I don't think we're going to see that today, unless it kind of goes like the truck race this morning and all hell breaks loose.
Right. And I mean, the other piece too is, that strategy could come into play during the second stage versus the first stage. It all just depends upon how these cautions fall and, if they fall.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on, or we good with that? We ready to go down, break these guys down?
I'm good.
All right, cool. So when we hit a range, guys, if you just want to point out maybe your favorite cash play or in the range for DK or FanDuel, just, maybe touch on that real quick. But let's break these guys down. So 1, we've got Priest, 2, Dillon, Kurt Busch, 3, Stenhouse Jr., 4, and Custard, 5. One of my favorite drivers. I love rostering him. But can I roster him, 5th at, 6,600? Can I roster him, though, starting that high up, Coop?
Sure, you can always roster him. I wouldn't recommend it, though.
All right, then the answer is no. So I can't roster him.
I'm not even going to play some Cole Custer today. But, I might have some deeper plays than a Cole Custer. So just
let's hear them. Come
later.
On.
We're not to that point yet.
Let's break these guys down.
I already mentioned Priest. He becomes unplayable. Then you basically have Stenhouse, who I think is a good fade. He finished 16th yesterday. He doesn't have great history here. So I'm fading that piece too, which leaves us with Austin Dillon and Kurt Busch. That's a tough one. I'm leaning much heavier towards Kurt Busch, as I'm sure most people will. Dillon, like I said yesterday, has been solid at this track. It wouldn't surprise me if he finishes 7th or 8th or 10th. But the key for him is he's got to get some dominator points to help him. Because, if he doesn't get those dominator points, he's dead in the water. I think I put on the playbook that if he finishes like 19th or 20th, something like that, he's at 5 points, and that's with no dominator points. So he would have to get a lot of dominator points to get back up to the 30 points that he needs in order to hit value. So I think I'll let people chase him, and I'll stick with Kurt Busch. Busch was surprising yesterday. He was solid for the most part of the race, racing anywhere from 7th to 12th. This isn't a great track for Kurt, but, he has good history here, in his prior years when he was, much more dominant. But, recently he hasn't been as good. So, Kurt Busch is an interesting play. There's nothing to say that he can't be the Eric Amarola from yesterday and go out and lead 40, 50, 60 laps. I think the key for Kurt Busch is getting the fastest laps because they're twice as much as the laps led. And if he can get some fastest laps, that's going to significantly help his value being able to be made. Because I can see Kurt Busch not winning this race, but I can easily see him going out and leading, anywhere from 25 to 35 laps, somewhere, at the end of the first stage, and then possibly, losing it early in the second stage. So I don't think you can fade Kurt Busch. My plan is to be right around field ownership on him. I don't know if I want to go heavy over him, but I might. But I don't want to be necessarily under because I think, the way you're making lineups, he does have the ability to, score 50, 60, 10 points for you today. So it would be Kurt Busch for me today.
Kurt Busch. So anyone else? You said you don't want Custer, Stenhouse Jr. Just no, you're fading him. You're not playing him.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we got this chalky field, and you got to find an edge somewhere. And Austin Dillon's, he might be 7-8% owned. Stenhouse, 4 to 6%. I'm not playing Custer, so his ownership's going to be way down today. So it's not a lot that you're gaining, but every little bit counts to gain an edge when you have these chalky fields.
All right, so Matty, do you agree with Coop that Kurt Busch is really the only guy that you like in this range? And if you like someone else, I'm assuming that means you would expect them to lead some laps, correct?
Yeah, Priest, Dillon, Stenhouse, Custer, I don't have any interest in. I probably like Kurt Busch more than Coop does. As he kind of mentioned, I think we can see Kurt get out and lead quite a few laps. It's going to take some time for these guys starting in the rear to get up front, regardless of it's Harvick or Truex or Busch or Bell or whoever you want to talk in, Hamlin in that 20th range. I think he can be exactly like Aric Almirola was yesterday. And I'm liking with as chalky as the slate's looking, and I'm just looking at some projected ownerships. I mean, he's only looking at about 17% projected ownership, which I think is really nice considering we're looking at a bunch of guys at 50, 40, 50, 60%.
So Kurt Busch is going to be 17%.
Yeah, that's what he's projecting. That's what I'm seeing for a projection right now.
I mean, I don't see that. I mean, maybe that's what happens, but I think his ownership is going to be higher than that. I can't see it being 17, but even at 25 or 30, it's still not terrible. That's not 40 or 50, right? Like some of these guys are going to be. So it's not bad. If you had to pick one guy in this range besides Kurt Busch in a large field GPP, who would it be if you just had to? Coop, I know you're not playing any of them. Matty, I know you're not playing them. But if you had to pick one person,
you'd have to play Dillon and hope he leads some laps.
Yep. Coop.
The contrarian piece of me would go with Cole Custer and hope that he can finish 10th to 15th and not get crushed.
All right. Coop's love for Custer never dies.
Nope. It's alive always. Even when he's not playing them, it's alive.
That's just strictly based on ownership, I think. Custer's going to be probably half of what Dillon is owned because, Dillon can get those placement points, not placement points, but differential points. Dominator points.
Yeah. So, and I'm assuming Kurt Busch is good in all formats, right?
Yeah. And then, my look at FanDuel for those drivers is the same. It would be Kurt Busch only.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think we touched on that pretty good. So let's get into the next group of drivers. If I can pull it up here real quick. Here we go. All right. Ryan Newman is 6th. I'm losing my 7th place driver because I don't have my sheet in front of me.
William Byron.
Thank you. Byron is 7th. Dibenedetto 8th. Blaney 9th. And Kenseth 10th. You think that I'd be, ready for this. But guys, who are we liking here? I know Coop wrote about Newman a little bit in the playbook, I'm pretty sure. Coop, do you still have some love for Newman and anyone else in this range?
Yeah. Obviously I already hit on Byron. He becomes, very hard to play because he's dropping to the rear and still being scored from 7th. Dibenedetto is interesting. He was fast yesterday and he had a very good car and he was able to stay up front. The thing that hurts me with Matty D is the price. He needs more, I think a 6th place finish to be able to pay off. And, if he falls to 10th, 11th, 12th, he can still get some positive fantasy points compared to what some of these other drivers are going to end up with due to the downside. But there is a lot of downside with Matty D too, because of all the great drivers that are starting behind him. He's a risky GPP play. I would put him in front of Byron if I wanted to choose between the two as far as playing. But again, I'm passing on Matty D because I want to, get that little edge of the 8 to 10% that are going to own him. Brian Blaney and Keselowski are the next two up there, and they didn't show a lot yesterday. They just basically drove around. They weren't super fast. Now that's not to say that they can't fix the car and be fast again today and surprise people. I think there's a solid chance for them to get up front, possibly lead some laps, probably not both of them, possibly one of them. And I think they're very good GPP plays. I think they're going to come in, 10, 12, 15% because a lot of other people are going to use their money on the higher drivers to have more upside. So I think they're good GPP plays. Ryan Newman, is the guy that I have the most interest in from this range. He starts 6th. If he finishes 8th, he still makes value. If he finishes 13th, he can still score 20 points for us. I know that sounds crazy, but when you look at these drivers that are 7K or less, it's not about hitting value for me. It's about how many fantasy points can they accumulate. And I think, 20 was the ballpark figure I was trying to hold on to. Who can get me 20 points? That way I can fit in as many of the, place differential drivers as what I possibly can. So Newman is gritty. He hangs tough. I could very easily see him finishing anywhere from 6th to 13th place. Keep in mind, though, there's a lot of downside, because if he finishes outside of that 13th place, his points doesn't take long for him to go down to single-digit points. So I'm not going to go crazy on him, but I think he could be a sneaky good play for us.
Yeah, so he's not like a cash play or anything. You're saying a large field tournament play. Matty,
Correct.
Let's talk this range. Do you love Newman as much as Coop and everyone else? Obviously, let's hit on him.
Well, I think Coop's got a little bit bigger cojones than I do today. I don't know if I'm going to go to the Newman range, but I think guys like Blaney and Keselowski, you can definitely play. As Coop said, all of Penske besides Logano did not look very good yesterday. They didn't do a whole lot. Blaney fired off, fast for about 5 laps, and then he didn't have much of anything. Obviously, I don't have much interest in Kenseth. I haven't seen anything to show to have any interest in him. Busch starting 11th. I don't have any interest as well. One thing I do find interesting, and I know these are just projections, when you're looking at projected ownership, but apparently nobody is interested in Keselowski. He's showing about 7%, which is kind of intriguing for a guy that's had really good history here. I think he probably makes a really interesting GPP play for me.
The only thing with Keselowski and Blaney is they got to get some more dominator points some way, somehow, to be able to play off because of their price tag. Because with the drivers that are behind them, like if Keselowski finishes, 3rd or 4th, these other drivers can still beat them because they're starting farther behind. So, I agree. It's a great GPP play. But it's very risky.
I think I would have a lot more interest in Keselowski than I would Blaney today.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. Blaney was just horrible from the beginning. He just couldn't get his tire, grip. He was struggling all around, never showed speed. So, I don't know. I mean, they can change it around. He's got a great team. But we'll see. I think the other interesting thing too, we've had 2 races like this prior this season where the top 20 was inverted, and we've had some, lesser names start up front. So if you go back to the 2nd Darlington race and the 2nd Charlotte race, you can use them as comparisons. And, if you look at it, the drivers like Ryan Preece, Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, they fell back and ended up, finishing anywhere from 8th to, 20th or worse. And then, the drivers that we're going to be talking about later, eventually came up and rose to the top. The one thing that stuck out in my mind and makes me, kind of think about Matty Dibenedetto was in both of those races, he was in a similar situation and he was able to hang tough. And I think he pulled out top 10s, and both of them were right around top 10s. So, if you want to look at a little something, that we have history on, when we have this, go back to those 2 races and look at the results.
Yeah. Matt Dibenedetto, that guy tilted me so hard that I think it was 2 races ago when he was up in the top 5, and we were supposed to get the rain right at the halfway point, and then we never got the rain. And man, I was running around. I had so much Matt Dibenedetto. I was winning a lot of money, and then all of a sudden there's no rain, and they start the next few laps after that stage, and he drops the 21st from 5th or something like that. That was not very
Tilting.
friendly. My lineups literally all went from the
Top to
winning
bottom.
tons of money to no money, like
Mhm.
literally within 2 minutes. It was rough. So guys, anyone in this range you like for cash, DK or FanDuel? Is there any cash plays in this range?
Not for me,
No.
no.
Okay.
No. My plays on would be the same on FanDuel is what I thought here.
Okay.
I do have interest in Newman.
Okay, so let's get on to the next set of guys. We got Buescher at 11th, Keselowski 12th. You guys have already talked about a little. McDowell 13th, Boyer 14th, and then my guy Truex 15th. Coop, let's start with you. Who do you like in this range? You already touched on Keselowski a little, but maybe if you want to add anything, and then anyone else.
We'll start with Buescher. My thoughts are the same as what it is with Newman, except to a smaller degree. I think he has that ability to, hang on. If he finishes right where he starts, he pays off. I think if he finishes 15th or 16th, somewhere in that ballpark, he still gets 20 points fantasy-wise, which is what I'm looking for again from these drivers that are under 7K. So, I don't like him as much as Newman, but I will have some Chris Buescher. Kenseth, I don't have any interest in. I missed him before. But Keselowski, we've already touched on. My favorite driver from this range is Clint Boyer. I think, he's going to be overlooked. He'll be more popular than a Blaney or a Keselowski because he's starting farther back. But that whole team yesterday for Stewart-Haas was very good. And I think Boyer had some very good speed. Finished 6th, so he can do it again today. He needs to finish 6th to make value. And he's one of the drivers I want to be overweight on because I do think he ends up being 15, 20% owned. And he has that upside. And then Truex, I'm not playing Truex today, part of my strategy. If I was playing 150 lineups, I would have some Truex. But in a 20 lineup strategy, I'm not playing Truex. I think there's one driver back there that's far dominant than these other ones. Truex led some laps yesterday, but he led laps because of strategy. He wasn't extremely fast. He was just average fast in my mind. So no Truex from me.
Yeah, and before we get on to Matty, guys, we're giving out this free content video. We'd really appreciate if you guys could hit that thumbs up button. It allows us to give you guys, a little bit more free content as we move forward. So we'd really appreciate that thumbs up. But Matty, let's hit on this range real quick.
Hold on, I forgot to say the luck runs out for frickin' Michael McDowell today. Don't play the dude. He's starting 13th, man. I don't even think Mikey would play him today, but I would have to check because Mikey does some crazy things, but I don't think he would. So, but there's just too much downside for him. He's going to finish 20th to 24th, most likely. And God, the guy's been so lucky.
Yeah. I'm not touching McDowell today.
All right. So Matty, besides McDowell, who else do you like in this range?
I do like Clint. All of Stewart-Haas was fast yesterday. I have no issue with Clint at all. The price is a little bit higher than I'd like it to be. I wish he was kind of in the mid 8s instead of 9,000. But I have no issue with Clint whatsoever, and I'll definitely have some exposure. I am also not playing Truex today. I'm also not playing Kyle Busch, who's my guy. So I'm fading those two Gibbs drivers, along with Christopher Bell as well too. I have no interest in today. These guys are kind of just in no man's land. The way strategy worked out yesterday, those guys ended up having good finishes, but I don't think they had great cars. I don't think Truex had a great car. I don't think Kyle had a great car. I don't think Bell had a great car. This slate for me, and when I was talking to Coop last night, just feels like such a place differential slate, and you have to find a way to get different somewhere else. So guys like Boyer, Keselowski, or Newman, like Coop mentioned, these kind of lower owned plays are where I'm going to try to get different. So these guys I don't have a lot of interest in this range.
All right. So is there anything else, guys, that you want to touch on?
I like Boyer on FanDuel. And the same would be said for Keselowski and Blaney on FanDuel. They should be good low-owned GPP plays. So, but Boyer, I think, is the one, that sticks out. And like Matty said, his price is up more than what people want to pay, which is just going to decrease his ownership.
I agree.
Matty, pretty much, do you like those guys on FanDuel as well?
Yeah. Boyer's price on FanDuel is actually very nice. Same with Keselowski. I mean, Keselowski's priced up a little bit, but if you're looking at single digit ownership on Keselowski, that makes it real interesting on either side, DK or FanDuel. So I would have interest in both of them.
All right. And guys, we'll definitely take some questions once we get through all these drivers. So hold off on the questions, and then I'll ask you to retype them when we get there at the end. But let's get down to the next set. Kyle Busch, 16th, Bell, 17th, Amarola, 18th, Hamlin, 19th, Harvick, 20th. Matty, let's start with you. Who do you like in this range? Are there any top plays cash-wise for FanDuel or DraftKings in this range?
The one guy that stands out here for me, and Coop's probably going to be in agreement with me on this, is I do like Denny Hamlin a lot today. His price is not completely egregious. Why he's priced less than Kyle Busch is literally beyond me, because Kyle hasn't shown anything for a month and a half. I think Denny has a chance to win this race. I would expect them to have some sort of strategy towards the end of the race, kind of like you see with Paul Wolf or with Keselowski and his squad. I like Denny a lot. I'm still stuck with what I want to do with Amarola. He was very fast yesterday, and we know with clean air is king at all these tracks, right? And he was out front all day long. I'm curious, really curious to see how his car is going to drive in the pack. He could start there and finish there, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. Christopher Bell, I'm not going to be playing. Like I mentioned, Kyle Busch, I'm not going to be playing. And I think just from a strategy standpoint on the slate, I'm going to fade Kevin Harvick. I expect him to be extremely popular. I would not be surprised if he comes in around 50% ownership. And with a slate like this, Coop's always got his rules. I kind of feel like this is you have to take a stand somewhere on this slate. And, with Kyle Busch and Harvick is kind of where I think I'm going to do that today.
All right. So Kyle Busch and Harvick are your stands. You're pretty much fading them. But you like Denny Hamlin. You're very high on Denny Hamlin.
Yep,
you play him in all formats, or?
I think you can play him in all formats. You could play him in cash. Obviously, he's got a great car, and with him starting 19th, he has some place differential. If he gets up there and finishes second or third, but I do think he has a good shot at winning the race today. So I don't have any issue with him in either format.
Yeah. So on FanDuel, you think he has top 3 finish ability, so you like him on FanDuel as well?
Yeah, I mean, Denny's always been great at Pocono. I mean, when his first 2 starts here at Pocono, he won. That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah. All right, Coop, do you agree? Do you love Denny Hamlin and anyone else in this range?
So, I'm definitely along the same thought process as Matty here. When you look at Kyle Busch, Truex, Harvick, and Denny Hamlin, minus the place differential drivers that we've yet to talk about, they're going to be the chalk of the day. And, if you're playing 100, 150 lineups, I think you can, take your chances on 2 of them, possibly 3. But 2 would be better to be able to give you some ownership advantage. If you're playing 20 lineups, I think you need to pick 1 and fade the others 3. That way you can get that ownership edge. And for me, it's Denny Hamlin. Kevin Harvick won the race yesterday, not because he was the fastest car. He won the race because he was able to get out in clean air because of a great pit stop that he had. And his team was consistent all day with their pit stops. Kyle Busch, same story, different week. Didn't show much speed. He was a little bit better than yesterday. But, the thing that, hangs on with Kyle Busch in the back of my mind, I'm not saying he used yesterday as a practice, but he got practice in yesterday. And now they can adjust that car to how he wants it and, feels with it. So, he would be my second favorite, driver within this range. And then, back to what Matty was saying, about Almirola, and the same for Almirola, but, how's Harvick's going to do in the clean air? The one thing that just sticks out to me is Denny Hamlin was the fastest of all these drivers. He was downright fast. And if he gets to the front, nobody's going to stop him other than, strategy or, unforeseen mechanical issues, something to that nature. Hands down, he has the best car. And I don't even think it's close, to the other big drivers. So for me, it's Denny Hamlin. And then Aric Almirola. I do have interest in Almirola, but Matty hit it spot on. He could easily finish 18th, could finish, 21st. But all he needs is a 14th place finish, to make value, which, I could very easily see that too. The Stewart-Haas team was very good yesterday. So I don't think much is going to change. They should be good again today. And I do have, some interest in Almirola. Bell.
Hey, Coop, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Almirola is being projected for 30% ownership. What do you think about that?
I would probably be underweight on that. But I think, 2025, I hate going underweight on people. But I think that's the right, decision with him because, he could easily finish 14th to 22nd, so it could go either way.
So we're on the same page there because I think I'm going to be underweight compared to the field on him.
Yeah. And then,
I'll sprinkle him in, but I just don't know where he's going to finish today. I'm kind of up in the air on him.
And then with Bell, he did great yesterday. Ran well, ran the perfect race, which he needed to run, in order to get to where he was. Sure, he could finish, 8th or better again today because 8th is what he needs to make value. But again, I'm going to fade him. You got to, have some edge somewhere. And, I don't know what Bell's ownership is, but I would imagine it's going to be in the 15 to 20% range. It's going to be one of the higher, non-chalky drivers. And, I want to gain that edge from him.
Yeah. Anything else in this range? You guys good to move on?
No, I have the same thoughts on FanDuel. I do think Denny Hamlin is playable in cash. I don't think Kyle Busch and Harvick is as much playable in cash strictly because of their price and what you would have to go down to in order to, get them.
All right. So let's go on to the next range. We got Johnson 21st, Wallace 22nd, LaJoie 23rd. John Hunter Nemechek 24th and Chase Elliott 25th. Coop, let's start with you because I know Matty's going to talk about Chase Elliott because I feel like he just picks him to win every friggin' race.
Come on now, not every race.
Whatever. It seems like you love the guy. You pick him all the time. But Coop, do you have any love for Elliott and anyone else in this range?
I guess the thing that, we haven't touched on yet that sticks out to me when we get to this range is we have a lot of drivers in Chevys. Chevy was very disappointing yesterday. For whatever reason, they didn't perform well at all, whether it be the strategy, but they didn't show a lot of speed either. None of the Chevy drivers, were able to, consistently stay in the top 10. So, that's concerning. Sure, they can go out and they can change it. These guys had 4.5 hours last night, to work on their cars. They have 4.5 hours again this morning, to work on their cars. Things can change. But again, I'm going to be betting that it doesn't. Johnson would be my favorite in here strictly because of the upside from place differential. But I like Boyer more than him, and I'm going to put my ownership on Boyer versus Johnson. I think Bubba needs a 14th place finish, which is, stretching it for him. He's done that, in a couple races earlier this year where he's finished, 12th to 15th. So it's not out of the realm that it can be done. It would be a good low-owned GPP pivot. But, I'm going to pass on Bubba too. Corey LaJoie's in here. He's one of the drivers that are under 7K. Who has potential upside. But remember, he's finished 23rd here yesterday. So that's probably going to be his upside. It was his first ever top 25 at this race. So I'm willing to let people, pass him and go on and chase him potentially. Because like I said, there's not many drivers down here that you can choose from. And, he has been coming in, 4 to 8 to 10% owned. He might end up a little bit higher today, strictly because of the options that are available. And I would rather take a chance at, Ryan Newman or Chris Buescher ending up scoring more fantasy points than LaJoie. Chase Elliott, I don't have any interest in him today, strictly because, again, Chevy didn't show a lot of speed yesterday. And he has to get into, I think, a top 5. His price is way up there. He's a good GPP play. But again, like Bell yesterday, Chase is going to have that perfect race today.
Yeah. Matty, do you agree? I'm assuming you think that Chase has that perfect race today if you're going to be on him, if you love him, right?
I do like Chase today. I'm not picking him to win, but I think he makes a really fun GPP play. I love his crew chief, Alan Gustafson. He used to be Kyle Busch's crew chief. He's top notch. I would expect that they have that car wearing and ready to go today. Nothing really went well for Hendrick yesterday in any way, shape, or form. They've been on the money all year long. I would expect them to have a better day today than they did yesterday. One thing I do also find, just kind of interesting, like, I mentioned ownership sometimes when we're looking at stuff. And the only thing that kind of makes me shy away is when you're looking at these projections, he's still projected at almost 31% ownership, even at that price. Not looking good yesterday. So that has me a little concerned.
I would definitely take my shot at Amarola at 30% versus Chase at 30%.
Yeah, and that's, as these fluctuate and change and things are changing, fading that 30% as much as I like him could be huge leverage against the field. LaJoie, I think LaJoie is kind of interesting. I think he's going to come in lower than what Coop thinks. I think he probably comes in single digits. From what I'm seeing here, it looks like the public's really jumping on John Hunter Nemechek. Like almost 25% they're showing in projections, which seems just ridiculous to me. So LaJoie's kind of interesting to me. If we see something like the truck race, right, Coop, where you have 7-8 wrecks and all of a sudden LaJoie's, sitting 16th, 15th, he could be that guy who leads you to the promised land at single digits.
He could be, but again, I'm not going to bank on 6, 7, 8 cautions because of accidents.
Absolutely. Bubba Wallace, I don't have much interest in. He didn't show me anything yesterday to show that he's worthy of rostering, especially at his price. John Hunter Nemechek, I do like John Hunter. The ownership's worrying me. I don't like 25% on him. If that's the case, like, keep in mind those are just projections, guys. So I would actually probably lean a little bit more towards Corey LaJoie in a GPP sense for me. And I don't hate his price tag at $5,600 either. So that's kind of where I'm at in this section. So I do like Chase today. Don't get me. I like Chase Elliott today, but that ownership is terrifying. I thought for sure he would come in around 15%. if he's going to be that high, we might have to make him a fade. So you guys pay attention in Discord before the race starts, and I'll let you guys know kind of what my plan is once I get it spend a little bit more time building here.
I didn't check, and I did have some interest, and still do have interest in him. I think he needs an 18th place finish to make value. I think if he stays where he's at, he can still hit 20 fantasy points. But 25% is a lot for John Hunter Nemechek, and I might take that little bit of ownership that I have and put him on a couple other studs that we haven't talked about yet, man.
Yeah. So is there anything else in this range you guys want to hit on, or is that pretty much?
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's priced significantly different on FanDuel that would provide more of an edge than what it would on DK. So my thoughts would be the same for the two sites.
Okay. All right. So next range, we've got Dillon 26th, Bowman 27th, Suarez 28th, Poole 29th, and Reddick 30th. Coop, let's start with you. Reddick at 30th, starting 30th at 7,600 seems like a pretty solid play to me. Talk about this range and maybe your favorite one or two plays.
So the interest would be obviously Bowman and Reddick. None of us, but there was somebody, beforehand in chat was talking about, fading, a driver we hadn't talked about yet. And, I think it's crazy. But it made me.
We're gonna get there. Do not spoil this for everyone. All right, we're gonna get
there.
But
it made me think. Alex Bowman. He wasn't very fast yesterday. He's been starting up near the front, which has hurt his value and stuff. Now he's starting in the back, but I can see him being the one of the drivers that have good place differential opportunities fluttering. And I think it would be, a way to gain edge to either be well underweight on him or possibly even fade him. He would be the one that I would be most willing to fade because I think, Kurt Busch can outscore him. I think Boyer can outscore him. Amarola can outscore him. Matty D could possibly even outscore him. So I think, Bowman, I could see him finishing 18th to 20th and not, getting the points that he needs because his price tag I still think is like 8.5. So, just that conversation made me think more about him. I don't think I want to do it on Reddick because Reddick did show some speed yesterday. He was able to, come from the back up to the mid pack and stuff like that. So I do have interest in, Reddick more than Bowman. I don't know what's the ownership they're saying there on Bowman, Matty.
Let's see here. I'm showing about 26% on Bowman and 30 on Reddick.
Huh. So yeah, I think I would think it would be more than 25%, but maybe other people were thinking along the same line of putting it towards a Kurt Busch or a Boyer or Jimmy Johnson. I don't know, but that's my thought process for those. Ty Dillon, I don't have any interest in. The price tag's still too high. He has to finish way up there. Again, he finished 26 yesterday, so I don't think he can finish much higher than a 20th, 22nd. Unless, like Matty said, there's a bunch of accidents, and he gets them from place differential. So that's my thoughts there on that range.
All right, Matty, you agree with Coop, or do you have a different take on this range?
No, I mean, obviously, like Ty and Suarez and Poole, I don't think those are guys that I'm going to touch today. It really just comes down to Bowman and Reddick. Reddick was fast yesterday. Coop nailed that. He literally drove right up, to 10th, 11th place before he, drove into Jones and ruined me and Coop's day yesterday. So I do have a ton of interest in Reddick. Bowman, he has not been good here. I mean, he averages almost a 23rd place finish. He does have a third place. So, I mean, a third place finish here, but that was in 2018. So, I mean, that's a ways from now. I'm kind of with Coop thinking that fading Bowman completely with those other guys like we were talking about, like Harvick and Busch, I think makes for a real interesting way for us to get leverage on the field.
I know you're not happy about that JSU because Bowman's your man.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. I don't like hearing it. And I don't like disregarding what you guys say because you guys know way more about NASCAR than I do. And, oh man, Bowman just in the beginning, he was winning me some money. So I just have a soft spot for him. But let's get on to this next kind of range. I want to try and group all these drivers left together. Because I'm sure there's some guys you guys are just going to throw out. So let's talk about the rest, from 31 all the way to 40. We got Yealy, Bleachek, Smithley, Davidson, Hill, 31 through 35. And then, the bottom 5, we got Logano, 36, who I know we're going to talk about for a little, Gase, 37th, Erik Jones, 38th, McLeod, 39th, and Quinn Huff, 40th. All right. I mean, how many of these guys am I just throwing out of my player pool, Coop?
Well, I'm going to be playing more this week than what I usually do. I usually stick away from these guys, but they have upside, so to say, whether it be, 15 points or 10 points. So they interest me. Strictly because downside of drivers like, Austin Dillon, Brian Priest, even Newman, Buescher, all these guys down there, they could score in the single-digit fantasy points for us today, depending upon the outcome of the race. So it definitely brings, these drivers into play this week because, they're banking on attrition. They're not going to go out. They're not going to pass anybody other than, themselves. They're fighting for each other in a little group. They're not going to pass any of the big name drivers. So it's all about attrition and, keeping their cars safe, and it's scary because, they don't have the best equipment and this is a track that's rough on equipment. So, they're going to be driving these cars again today that they were in yesterday. So it does make, possibility that they could have some more mechanical issues. But Quinn Huff would be the one that I like the most, strictly because he's starting 40th. And out of that group, he's one of the two that has been able to finish, 31st, 32nd, 34th in that ballpark. And, I think that gets you up to around 15 points, but, it's not the 20 we were looking for. But with the salary that you're saving from these guys, it allows you to get more upside into your lineups. So for me, it's Huff, a little bit of McLeod, and Gase. Yealy is starting too far forward, I think, for me. I do like him. He's the other driver that's been able to finish in that 32nd, 33rd area. But, I'm going to bank on the guys that are starting, in the back. And hoping that they, can, produce that 15 points or so. I mean, what kind of ownership are we looking at them on, Matty? I mean, are they still going to be, low single digits? Because one of them I have, an ungodly amount of.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. Let me just take a look.
Is the one you have an ungodly amount of, is that Quinn Huff?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys, if you aren't subscribed, we have the playbook, which Coop writes every day. And pretty much you can know nothing about NASCAR. You can go in and it's pretty much, he breaks down all the drivers he likes, the key fades he likes. He breaks them down in the tiers by their pricing. And he gives you, little notes on it. And when I saw Quinn Huff in the playbook,
You thought I was huffing
honestly,
some stuff, man.
So I thought it was wrong, and I was about to message us in our little NASCAR chat and just say, what's going on with Quinn Huff in the playbook? I don't get it. But I knew that Coop was writing the playbook because sometimes Matty writes it, sometimes Mikey does. And then I just said, well, Coop's crazy, and he's got cojones, as Matty would put it earlier. So he did write this, and it is real, and Quinn Huff is a play. So
I told Coop I hated that last night, but I don't think he's that nuts.
Well, so is Quinn Huff on FanDuel still playable with the fact that you need to finish higher up on FanDuel? Like where you place is more.
I don't think so. I wouldn't put him in FanDuel, strictly DK. And that goes the same with like McLeod and Gase and stuff like that, because you simply don't need to, go down that low in order to get that numbers up. I think, he's 3,000, I think, on FanDuel or something. And, you can still get, like a Busch or a Newman who could still score 20 points. Like, these guys are at 15 points, I think, is their upside. Where I think, the Newman and the Busch could still get 20 points. And then same with Nemechek and LaJoy if everything works out right for them. So, no, I wouldn't play them on FanDuel. And then I think, Quinn Huff is also playable in cash today in DK.
Okay. All
to
right.
Be able to allow you to get all the other big studs in.
Yeah, he gives you everybody else.
So let's talk about the two names kind of at the top that we've kind of been touching on, but we really haven't gotten into yet. And that's Logano starting 36th and Erik Jones starting 38th. What are we doing with these guys? I know there's someone at RPS who works with us who is just flat out fading one of these guys. And, it's honestly, if you do it, you're fading 50% of the field. In GPPs, I get it. In cash, I definitely wouldn't fade probably either of these guys. But Matty, let's talk about it real quick. What are you doing with Logano and Jones? These guys are going to be supremely chalky, even in large field tournaments.
Yep. I'm going right back to the well. I'm locking Jones. I'll probably run him in 90%. I'm gonna get over the field on him, even though he's looking at about 67, 68% ownership. The kid loves this track. He's been great here. Yesterday was not his fault. He was wrecked by Reddick. Reddick misjudged the corner. I mean, this kid's gone 3rd, 8th. He wrecked out, finished 29th, then he went 5th, 3rd, 2nd, and 38th yesterday. Loves flat tracks. He was a flat tracker racer growing up. I love Jones today. And Logano, as much as one of our supreme leaders, doesn't enjoy him today. And if anybody has ever been in our Discord chat, they know how much disdain I have for Joey Logano. I can't stand Joey Logano, but I have a ton. I am not fading Logano today. I think there's other ways to get around it. His equipment's too good. He ran well up there in 2nd and 3rd yesterday. I would expect his crew to maybe do a 2-tire stop, something like that, early in the race. If we get a caution, he's going to gain a bunch of track position. I am this close to locking in Joey Logano as well.
So I would assume that these guys are just locks in all formats then, in your opinion, no matter what site, FanDuel, Draftkings, because these guys have finish ability, right? They can finish in the top 5. So,
if Jones and Logano finish in the top 10 and you faded them, you're in deep trouble.
All right. Well, that's, Matt's take. Matt is just playing the chalk and probably got to differentiate in the, two or three spots at least if you're playing those guys, because that's going to be very popular. Coop, what are you doing with these two? Big T's, saying you guys are boring here playing all the chalk. So, give us something excitement. Quinn Huff. Quinn Huff wasn't enough excitement for Big T. Playing Quinn Huff was not that exciting. So give us something better, Coop, please.
I'm going back to the well on Erik Jones. No doubt about it. The thing that I think Big T's missing with these guys is that Erik Jones only needs a 22nd place finish to make value. 22nd. That means there's, 10, 12, 15 other spots available for him to even make more value. And the other piece that I think he's missing it with is there's so many downside drivers that even if he finishes 22nd and just makes value, he's going to outscore so many other drivers, whatever their price is. So there's so much safety with them. And then Logano has to finish 16th. 16th. Again, a top 10, you don't have them, you're done. I'll lock the button on Logano, you know. So, he was solid yesterday. He's had bad results here. He's due for a good one. Again, 16th place. He has so much more upside than that. And, if he gets into the top 10, he has the ability to score 50, 60, 70 points, somewhere in that ballpark. So he could literally break you and kill you. Now, on FanDuel, it might be a little different. I don't know if I would block that button on Logano strictly because of the price. The price is what does it on DK. I think he's 12,000 on FanDuel,
Yeah, you're right.
which makes you think a little bit more. I understand what Big T is doing if he's playing FanDuel. I don't understand what he's doing if he's playing DK.
So you don't think in large field tournaments that let's say I'm playing one lineup in a large field tournament. I think that playing both of these guys is a bad idea. If you're playing one bullet, you're trying to win, 200K or something like that. I think choosing one is the way to go. But playing both of these guys together is not a good thing to do if you have one lineup. Because there are people that play one lineup, and that's my opinion. But a lot of people are going to play both of these guys together because it's so easy. And so just to be different, if you don't, that's going to make you different, and you can pick the one you like the most, in my opinion.
I think in large field, in large money contests too, it's fine to play them. Just don't play Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick with them, because that'll help you be different, because those people are going to be played with them also.
But I want to play those guys. So
play Quinn Huff,
that's
man.
what I'm going to do. Oh, no, I'm not playing Coop. I love you, man. Maybe I'll throw one lineup with Quinn Huff just for you. We'll make it the Coop lineup with all your guys. The Quinn Huff plays from the playbook. But Matty,
I think you're right. I think you play both these guys, even in a large field. You have to get different elsewhere. As I was talking before, I'm going to be fading Harvick. I'm going to be fading Kyle Busch. Harvick's looking at 45. Busch is looking at 40. And some of these other guys that me and Coop had mentioned earlier today, like a Keselowski, like a Newman, these guys who are going to be lower owned plays, I think you can get the leverage on the field there and not have to fade the slam dunk plays. I think when you start doing that, I think you're just kind of overthinking the slate, the way the DK has it set up. I'm with Coop 100%. And I saw in Discord some people were saying, well, Logano hasn't been good here. Well, Kevin Harvick had never won at Pocono until yesterday. So, every dog has its day. As Coop said, he's due for a good run here. I have no issue with hitting the lock button on Logano at all.
So what happens, JSU, if, let's say Logano finishes 20th, Jones finishes 21st, Bowman finishes 22nd, and 23rd is Reddick. How's it play out?
If all those guys finish in the 20,
yeah,
I don't want them all in my lineup together.
Right, but they're going to be in the lineup, and still Logano and Jones went out over Reddick and Bowman.
Okay, so they're going to do well, and they're going to be better than what you're saying is they're going to beat Reddick, right? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm going to say is there's so much of a big drop off between Logano and Jones safety than what it is for Bowman and Reddick.
Yeah, but you're giving me a cash example right there. That's a cash example. Like you're saying to me, the safety is so much better with Jones and Logano. But in tournaments, throw caution to the wind here a little bit, gentlemen. Like I gotta be different somewhere. I can't be playing Tyler Reddick, Logano, Jones. I can't be playing Bowman. I can't be playing all of these guys in my lineup. I gotta, take a stand at, as you always say, and Big T takes stands. You have to take a stand, and you got to be uncomfortable with it. In any sport, I always say, if you're playing tournaments and there's not one play where you're a little uncomfortable with, you're probably not doing it right. You're probably not making a tough decision for a guy that is going to be lower owned. fading a guy in his position that's going to be higher owned. And that's how you take it down. You're going to chop with 1,000 other people if you don't do that. And for me, I don't want to chop. I want it all. So because
I totally 100% agree with you. That's why, you know, I'm willing to take my chances with Quinn Huff and Ryan Newman and Busch.
Yeah. That's enough of a stand right there, Coop. I'll give you that one. So guys,
we're kind of doing that with Harvick and Busch because I mean we're cutting half the field away,
right?
Fully fading Harvick. I mean Harvick's almost going to be 50% owned. We're cutting half the field away right there.
Yeah, I mean
there's just so many different ways. There's so many different ways you can go. That's why, like, you know, there's so much different strategy to use. Where if you're playing 20 lineups versus 50 to 150. Like in 20, you've got to be really bold today, and you've got to take big stands, you know. And if you're doing 50 to 150, you can be more flexible and still, you know, get more ownership. But if you're sticking with 20, you got to be really bold.
Yeah, and guys, why don't you throw some questions in the chat now? We'll take some questions before we get out of here. And again, if you guys haven't yet, please hit that like button. You know, it really helps us provide you guys with some more free content as we go. And as we get more sports back, we want to kind of get some free content to you guys. So the like button really helps us out and helps us do that. And also, you know, if you haven't yet, check out Run Pure Sports. We got our core plays where, you know, a few of our guys, Coop, Matty, Mikey, you know, Big T, they're in there. They're giving you their kind of core 3 or 4 plays of the day, you know, to set your lineups. And then we got the playbook, like I said, that you literally just get every tier. They give you their top, you know, 5, 6 drivers in each tier. And then they give you some key fades at the bottom. And, you know, like I said, it's so simple to read out. You don't even have to know anything about NASCAR. You could just go in there and it's laid out so easily and simply for you guys. It's just, it's easy to make lineups with. So make sure you check that out. But it looks like we got a few questions here. I saw one I want to get to. What is your 3 entry max strategy? Coop, let's start with you. If you're making 3 lineups, what's kind of your strategy today?
My strategy would be, you know, Quinn Huff, Ryan Newman, you know, drivers like that. As a different, I think it's, you know, I want to keep Logano and I want to keep Jones strictly because of the upside.
Do you go all in on 3 entry max? Like, will you play Logano and Erik Jones on all 3 when you play 3 entry? Yeah. Okay.
That way, you know, I would rather differentiate in other places to hit versus trying to differentiate off of them.
So you're going to change the other 4 spots and keep those 2 kind of locked in. That's your strategy. All right, Matty, do you have a different strategy for 3 entry max, or is that kind of how you do it too?
I mean, every slate's different, but I'm with Coop on this. If I was playing a 3 max today, I would lock in Jones and Logano, and I would try to differentiate somewhere else. You know, fading Harvick, fading Busch, you know, Amarola, you know, another guy who's going to be in that 30 range. Like Coop said, you have to be bold today. You have to take some chances. The way Draftkings has this set up, it's a chop fest. Projected ownerships are showing that. You have to find a way to get different. You have to think outside the box. I'm looking at a build right now, and Quinn Huff's in it, and it makes me want to vomit. But Coop's not nuts. You know, something like that, that's how you get way over the field. If we think about this, we saw, I think, 9 cautions this morning in the truck race. If we saw 9 cautions and you have Quinn Huff today and he's just riding around driving Miss Daisy back there and somehow miraculously finishes 28th, you're going to be happy as a pig in a blanket, man. You're going to be ecstatic. Am I going to run 50% Quinn Huff? No, absolutely not. But you know, like Coop said, I think you have to take bold stance somewhere else. But with Jones and Logano, those are not the guys I'm willing to sacrifice.
All right, so let's see. Michael King wants to know, and Matty, I'm going to bring this one to you. Is Chase Elliott good to play today?
I've been thinking about this as we've been sitting here, and I'm going to say no. I'm going to fade Chase.
Who would you play at the top end instead of him if you had to pick one?
Hamlin.
All right. Let's see. Marcus Williams wants to know, if you're making 10 to 15 lineups, should you be playing guys like Gase, McLeod, Huff? Coop, let's bring this one to you. What do you think? If you're making 10 to 15 lineups, should you be playing those guys?
My strategy was, 20 lineups. I had half of them with, Gase, McLeod, Huff, and the other half I had, the Newmans, the Buschers, maybe not anybody below 7K.
All right. Josh White wants to know, top outright winner choice for us for the sports book guys. So who is the guy that you guys think? Give us the guy with like the best odds, or the guy you think is going to win the race. Matty, you want to start this off?
Yeah. I'm on Hamlin. He's been the most consistent at this track for me. His Vegas odds are plus 400. He's right there with Kyle Busch. And as I mentioned, I'm fading Kyle. I just haven't seen. I think the Vegas book is giving Kyle a whole lot of credit for not really doing a whole lot for the last 60 days. So if I'm placing a bet on anybody, I would be looking at Hamlin. One thing that I do kind of find interesting here, and I think he's got a fast enough car to win. Coop had mentioned him earlier. Is Clint Boyer at plus 3,500 could be a interesting little wager as well.
Yeah, Coop. Who do you like? With the odds obviously included, who do you like? To bet on today?
If we're talking strictly odds, hold on 1 minute. Let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
Definitely, I like the Clint Boyer call. 35-1, and he is definitely somebody who I feel can win.
Yeah, I see him. His odds are moving down too. I see him at plus 3,000 now, so 31.
Right.
So
it's 22-1 is not bad on Kurt Busch. You're not going to get much better. I think he can stay up there and be competitive, and at the end, I think he could be there. So if you're looking, at deeper odds, those would be the two guys that I would.
I'm seeing Kurt Busch at 33-1.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So definitely.
What are you looking at, JSU? What's that?
DK, the sports book on DK.
Okay, so Bovada has him at 22-1. So if DK's got him there, that's actually
really good. So if you can bet on DK, that's the guys. Let's see, Matty. Top 3 overweight guys, top 3 underweight plays today. So give me your top 3 plays that you're going to be way over the field on, and then top 3 that you're going to be under the field.
Yeah, obviously Logano, Jones, and Hamlin we're going to be extremely overweight on. Underweight to the field, it's going to be Harvick. Let me see here. I'm just pulling up my list again. Sorry, guys. It's going to be Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. So as I mentioned, I'm probably going to fade all 3 of those guys completely now. So I will obviously be very, very underweight compared to everybody else. All
right, Coop Legend 380 wants to know, Nemechek viable in cash? He doesn't say for FanDuel or Draftkings, but if you could just hit on that.
No. I would go Quinn Huff over Nemechek. The downside is just so much for Nemechek.
All right. William wants to know, FanDuel, Newman or John Hunter Nemechek, last piece. It doesn't say cash or GPP. So, Matty, let's first say cash. You want Newman or John Hunter Nemechek, if you had to pick?
That's tough. They're priced by each other. Newman's 72, Hunter's 65. If I was playing cash on FanDuel, I would probably just go with Nemechek, just for the simple fact that if something happens, he's not going to kill you nearly as much as Newman. I think
Newman in tournaments.
Yeah, I think I would go with Newman in tournaments, and I'd probably go with Nemechek in cash. I probably wouldn't go there in cash in my own build, but if that's what he's trying to do, and that's what the question is, that's kind of what I would do.
All right. Let's see. QQ These nuts. Top 2 lower price guys for FanDuel GPP. Coop, top 2 plays that are lower price.
I mean, what do we mean by lower price? Like, like really, really low or sub low? Let's see here.
Yeah, let's say anywhere from like, I don't know, let's say anywhere from like 70, 75 and below, or 72 and below, something like that. They give them one cheap play and one, somewhere in that mid.
Newman, and Busch.
Newman and Newman. So Newman and Busch. Okay.
Because I don't think you need to go down to the 5K or less in FanDuel.
No, the scoring is just different. I don't think you can. I'm surprised you didn't throw Custer out there.
If you had to make, this is the last question. I'm gonna ask you guys both. If you had to start for cash, you had to give me your 3 favorite plays on FanDuel and DraftKings. Give me your 3 favorite cash plays. Doesn't matter the price. Just give me your 3 favorite. Matty.
On FanDuel, I would go Logano, Jones, and Hamlin. I love that core. And I think the same goes for DK. That's where I'm going to start my building. I'm going to basically lock those 3 guys in. I'm going to be extremely overweight on the field. And I think you can play either of those guys on either side, all 3 of them. I don't have any issue with either one on either side.
Yeah, Coop, same question. Who are your 3 plays on cash?
Logano, Jones, and Reddick.
Boom. There it is, guys. So for that, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you go over to runpuresport.com. Check out everything we got going on. The playbook is live, core plays, everything from NASCAR, PGA, MMA. We had a guy last week take down 100K in MMA. Props to him. And then, like I said, NBA is going to be starting up real soon, MLB. So make sure to tune in for that. But for me, JSU, Coop, and Matty, we're out.